Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is today I'm doing the name game book tag. Alicia over at Alicia Reads and Rambles tagged me because she thought I had a difficult name, but I'm going to show her and I'm going to do 2 books for each letter in my name. The point of the game is to recommend a book with the same letter of each letter of your name, with the same first letter of each letter of your name. So I'm going to do 2 because yes, I do have difficult letters. K and probably N are the most difficult ones, but I got 2 for each. I'm going to recommend Kindred by Octavia Butler. I think out of all of Octavia Butler's books that I've read and heard talked about, this is going to be the most accessible of her books to those of us who don't love sci-fi and are not totally into like futurism or Afrofuturism and things like that. And so the basic like one line thing about this is that this is a modern day woman who keeps getting pulled back into slave times, a modern day black woman who keeps getting pulled back into slave times, and she, from what I can remember, she is trying to solve something. She's trying to help someone, and I think that's the thing that's going to stop her from having to get pulled back. Kill Creek is by Scott Thomas. It's a horror story, and it's a little meta because it's this person has this reality show producer has invited all of these horror writers to this haunted house, and he thinks he's going to make this great reality TV show, and obviously it goes really badly. And yeah, that's the basic one paragraph or couple sentence synopsis of that story. Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, horror with horror writers and a haunted house. This is also the book that we're supposed to do Babe Books and Beverages. We have the beverages, I have the Babe, we both read the book. We cannot find the time. For A in Katrina, we have The Angel of Khan El Khalil by P. Djeli Clark. This is a novella. It's like a multiverse version of Cairo, 1920s Cairo. It's like steampunk and fantastical because there's jinn, so those are magical creatures or fantastical creatures. Steampunk because the angel is like this super giant metal angel. He still like knows the truth when the main character, who is kind of a badass Middle Eastern, I think she was a lesbian. I don't think she was bisexual. I think she was a lesbian. She has to tell the truth to like get to the next thing that she's needing to get to. The next book in A was Actor Age Eve Brown, which was the last book in the Eve Brown Sisters series by Talia Hibbert. This is a series of spicy rom-com kind of things, but they also were so praised across the board because of the rep. Like, all 3 women are dark-skinned, fat black women who are smart, who don't have to, lessen themselves to get the guy. They get handsome, strong, men who are in touch with their feelings and can communicate. I think Eve Brown was Sunshine and Grumpy. Her man was Grumpy. One of the books has chronic pain, autism, like across the board. So, and it's like effortless. Now for the T in my name, I have The Turn of the Key, which is by Ruth Ware. I have to say that this is where the mystery, horror, thriller community and I have a beef, have a difference. Everybody, like all the different types of thriller horror readers, they all love her. They give Ruth Ware like 4 and 5 stars every time, and I just haven't been lucky with any of her books. And there's one that I've read. There's one still out there that I haven't read, and the title of it seems cool and the cover of it seems really cool, but I just keep getting burned. I'm like, nope. So this one kind of reminds me of The Haunting of Bly Manor, which was also very loose adaptation of Turn of the Screw. No, Turn of the Screw. What's the one with the kids, the creepy kids, the old horror story with the creepy kids? So these kids are, instead of a boy and a girl, it's two girls, and they keep running off these nannies over the course of like 14 months. They run through a whole bunch of nannies. The front of the house itself is supposedly haunted, and the front of it looks like a traditional big old house in England, and in the back, the husband is some kind of tech person. He's overly tech. The back of the house is super modern and glass, and there's you can see in every part of the house there's cameras, and you can talk to people. So intercoms, kind of, but more techy. The parents go off and leaves the nanny with the kids, and the house starts making these noises. Now, the audiobook is really good with this, because this was actually pretty creepy the first couple times. The narrator kept making the creak sound, and it would give me genuine, goosebumps. But, after the 8th time, you're just like, okay, I didn't pick up on necessarily what the end of the story was going to be. Yes, the more it's coming back to my memory, it is whatever Bly Manor is based on. Turn of this with the two creepy kids, whatever that classical horror book is. I'm gonna put it on the screen because it's gonna bother me as I'm editing. Sorry, editing Katrina. You're gonna have to do some Googling to figure out what Bly Manor was based on. If you like scary books, again, I am the absolute outlier here. Everybody in the community seems to love her books, and even people who don't read horror and mystery all that much love Ruth Ware. I am a complete outlier there. Trust Your Eyes by Lynn Barclay gave it 5 stars, and so this book is from 2012, so it's a little older, so I don't know how it holds up with all of the different, how we have different phases of what people are doing with different genres. So I don't know how this will hold up, but I like it's by this guy Thomas, who is a map obsessed schizophrenic, but he rarely leaves his room, and he uses a computer program called world360.com, which is kind of like Google Maps, and he is able to see the world without stepping out of the door. And then he sees someone get killed. He sees what he thinks is a murder happen in a window. A woman gets murdered. Ray takes care of Thomas, and he listens to Thomas kind of like half-heartedly tell him about this conspiracy, but then more and more and more he gets dragged into it, and they realize, oh, we're dealing with this weird conspiracy. R is Radiance by Grace Draven. This is a fantasy romance. It was very focused on this fantastical world with different creatures and all that. There was 2 different types of people in this kingdoms. They were the people who are arranged married. They're from totally different species. I'm thinking. I think that she couldn't have his baby, and they are like, I think he is like the nephew and she's the 3rd daughter, so they're kind of like spare royals. And so the main characters are a human female and a Kai, and the Kai are like these dark gray skinned people with horns and animal like teeth. They don't have whites in their eyes, and it freaks, like, even when the guy falls in love with the girl, it freaks him out even to the end of the book when she does weird stuff with her eyes, because the whites of the eyes really unsettles the Kai people, and they fall in love for real. And then there's a second book, and the second book is really about the fantasy world itself. It switches from the romance to the world, and because I was so invested, I loved it. It was so good. So that's Radiance by Grace Draven. Radiance is the first book. The second one is Rusty Nail by J.A. Conrath. Lieutenant Jacqueline Jack Daniels of Chicago Police Department is back, and once again she's up to her Armani in murder. Someone is sending Jack snuff videos. The victims are people she knows, and they share a common trait. They are all involved in one of Jack's previous cases. With her stalwart partner hospitalized and unable to help, Jack follows a trail of death throughout the Midwest, on a collision course with the smartest and deadliest adversary she's ever known. During the chase, Jack jeopardizes her career, her love life, and her closest friends. She also comes to a startling realization: serial killers have families, and blood runs thick. Rusty Nail features more of the laugh-out-loud humor and crazy characters that saturated Whiskey Sour and Bloody Mary without sacrificing the nail-biting thrills. This is Daniel's third and most exciting adventure yet. So the next one is Dirty Martini, and somehow I skipped that one, and I read Fuzzy Navel, and then there's Cherry Bomb. I gave it 4 stars. So the I in my name is for The Institute, The Institute is a 2019 Stephen King book. You start with Luke, who is 12, and he is snatched from his room in the middle of the night and taken to another place where his room is recreated without windows and the doors lead to other doors. That's what The Institute is, this place that takes all these special kids who have, telekinesis or telepathy and things like that, and they do all these brutal things to try to extract it from them. And so they're in the front half at first, and then they go into the back half, which one of his friends calls the Roach Motel, and because you check in and you don't check out. And so as more and more of his group of friends get taken back there, he is more and more desperate to escape. And so he has to, it's just a classic, more like the 80s version of Stephen King. Instauration is the next book by Sarah Lyons Fleming. So this is the third in the series. It's a trilogy, and the book before it had a big thing happen, and then they're recovering from it. It's weird to have to talk about a book in series because you can spoil it really, really easily. I don't know how many people are still reading like apocalyptic zombie stories, but if you like the friendship trope or the found family trope, getting through something, whatever it is, whether it's aliens or zombies or whatever, and lots of quippy humor and lots of Sarah Lyons Fleming will kill your favorite character, and so lots of drama and lots at stake, and so if you like that this is another. Sarah Lyons Fleming has 2 great series. One is a little bit longer of a series, and one is a trilogy that will scratch that itch for you. So now we're coming down to the last couple letters, and I kind of went crazy on N. Near the Bone by Christina Henry. A woman is trapped on a mountain, attempts to survive more than one kind of monster, in a dread-inducing horror novel from a national best-selling author, Christina Henry. I gave it 3 stars. It did not hold its horror very well. It did not hold the dread, like the consistent level of stress that I felt in other books where I'm just like nervous for the character because you can see something coming, or because you didn't, I don't know, like the person was making dumb choices but you really cared about them or something like that. It didn't consistently sustain that level of dread, but it did okay. The synopsis got me into the book, and it's like this woman who is trapped on the top of a mountain, and she has an abusive husband or kidnapper. She also has these 3 guys that show up that make her husband mad because they show up and they need help from her. And there's a creature, like it should not be able to run as fast as it is or stand up or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but because they live off the grid, they know about stuff like that. Like I wouldn't be able to tell unless it was a pig walking on its hind legs. I would obviously know that, but like this, they couldn't quite figure out what was going on there. So this poor girl, she was being kind of battered and didn't know who to trust, and from all around. So that was that book. It's a mysterious, atmospheric horror story, but it didn't hold that tension very, very tightly, and it didn't hold it consistently. So it only got a 3-star for me. But it starts with the N. Now, a horror story or a thriller, this is more of a thriller that did hold the tension, was No Exit. I think I've said this before. I almost passed out, almost had a panic attack, and it was a ride. It was a really good ride. Got 5 stars out of me. It is quick. It's 278 pages, so it does get through the story. The Nice Girls series by Molly Harper. Molly Harper writes, well, she writes both paranormal and regular romances. Needful Things is a good Stephen King book that starts with N, and Neighborly is an erotic plus size black woman bisexual book that is really yummy, by Katrina Jackson. Amari and the Night Brothers by B.B. Austin. A girl whose brother is gone missing. Come to find out, he is part of this magical like school society thing, and she has to go and find out where her brother went. And Adult Rights by Octavia Butler. It's book 2 of the Xenogenesis series. That's the one series I did read her. That was not, Kindred, obviously. And this is a sequel to Dawn. And this book was really interesting because it talked a lot about family and sexuality. And it's the first time that I read something where the aliens in the story were not recognizable at all. They were not humanoid at all. And so they were in every way. It was so interesting how Octavia Butler could make this story interesting and make you, I don't know, how could she describe something so foreign? Like, for her to have that expansive imagination to be able to describe something so foreign was interesting to me, because they weren't just humans with pointy ears like Star Trek or something. So that is the end of this tag. I tag anybody who hasn't done this. I don't know who's done it. Let's see, my thing is about to die, so I'm like nervous. So I don't know who has tricky names, but if you think you have, like, if you have an X in your name, or if you have Z's, or what else, let's do X or Z. If you have an X or a Z, I tag you. I'd like to see what books you have, even though I just gave you Xenogenesis, but that's a series, that's not the name, that's not the title. So let's use this as the end of the video emoji if you don't have anything to say. Otherwise, what kind of answers would you give to these prompts or these letters? Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.